What is TMin and how will it help change the world? I recently started a nonprofit organization called Totality Ministries. It's nicknamed TMin with a two-part mission. Number one, to create unity, friendship, and love between people of all races and denominations. And number two, to help people become all God created them to be. I call that achieving personal totality. Can you imagine how it'll change the world when we see more unity, love, and friendship, and we become all God created us to be? Now, I've heard from some that this mission is too big, even impossible. But I can't deny what's in my heart. Onward and upward we go with this. Years ago, John Raymonds, a remarkable business person and investor I know, was speaking with Peter Diamandis about what he was doing. Peter is one of the most brilliant people I've ever met. He's involved with X Prize, space travel, life extension, artificial intelligence, and much more. When Peter told John of his desire to create an X Prize for education, John responded, "Sounds impossible. How can I help?" Don't you love that? When John told me that story, it absolutely inspired me. Accomplishing the mission of TMin sounds impossible, right? How can I help? I'm reminded of one of my favorite scriptures, Matthew 19:26. Jesus looked at them and said, "With man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible." Now, this podcast is about totalityism. I'm a second-generation artist. My dad is the artist Buck Paulson. I love to paint and merge art with theology as a force for positive change in the world. You've likely heard of famous art movements created over the years, such as Impressionism, Abstract Expressionism, Cubism, Realism, Minimalism, Surrealism, etc. I've started the new art movement of the 21st century. It's called Totalityism. Again, that's what this podcast is all about. Totalityism is the merging of art and theology as a catalyst for creating unity, friendship, and love, and helping people achieve personal totality. As you can see, it aligns beautifully with the mission of Totality Ministries. In my book, Totality X, The Art of Becoming All God Created You to Be, totalityism is in full view. In each of the 16 chapters, I introduce one of my paintings, share personal development-focused insight I gained from creating the painting, and I close the chapter with a merging of art and theology with insights for achieving personal totality through Christ. By creating the new art movement, Totalityism, I'm working to do something that's never been done before, the merging of art and theology to bring about unity, love, and friendship while promoting this personal totality that I speak of. Now, some people wonder, where did the term TMin come from? Well, the name Totality Ministries includes the word totality because I see it as the ideal symbol for representing becoming all God created us to be. In fact, I painted a picture of totality and I put it on the cover of my book, Totality X, The Art of Becoming All God Created You to Be. To me, the light appearing around the eclipse, now that's called the corona, that represents Christ's role in our achieving personal totality. I know some non-Christians will debate this point, but I believe we can't get there, personal totality, without the help of Christ. In fact, the X in the title in my book, Totality X, is the Greek letter chi, which is an abbreviation for Christ, as in Xmas, being short for Christmas. Hence, Totality X represents becoming total through Christ. Now, I use the word ministries in the name because in the Greek used in the New Testament, the term centers on acts of service to others. It sometimes carries the meaning of servitude to God and implies a sense of being duty-bound to be God's loyal servant. Russell M. Nelson, president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, recently shared that he was delighted to learn from some Hebrew scholars another meaning of the word Israel. It is, let God prevail. Now, I want to let God prevail in my life and to be God's loyal servant in working to accomplish the mission of TMin. Now, TMin is not a church. It's not affiliated with one. I started it to help manifest that which is in my heart, to achieve the mission I've shared in this podcast episode. Now, I'm an artist, an author, coach, and speaker. I served for almost 10 years as a bishop in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. My graduate education has revolved around the Bible as well. For example, I have a Master of Divinity degree with an emphasis in Bible studies. I have a Master of Biblical Exposition degree, both of those from Liberty University School of Divinity. In the Doctor of Ministry program I'm currently in at Emory University's Candler School of Theology, my degree track is Biblical Proclamation. Though I didn't know what it would look like, I've been preparing for Totality Ministries for TMin for a very long time. Now, I retired from business as I knew it on 2/22/22. It was a great day. That was my 60th birthday. I retired to spend the next 40 years in art and ministry. TMin is certainly influenced by the great things many churches are doing throughout the world. For example, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is doing remarkable work to join with other denominations and others to protect religious freedoms, to do amazing humanitarian work, to create unity and help to perfect the saints, as they say. TMin has also been influenced by work being done by other wonderful organizations and churches, United Methodist Church, a Baptist church, the NAACP, and non-religious organizations. Now, the Savior's ministry exemplifies the two great commandments. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy mind, and thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I read that this morning in my personal scripture study. That's in Matthew 22, verses 37 and 39. Now, TMin wishes to make an impact for good in the world through its mission, which is consistent with the two great commandments. But to do so, we need to do things differently, don't we? Achieving the mission of TMin will require doing things that have not been done before. Otherwise, we would have this unity, friendship, and love between races and denominations, and we would be becoming more of what God has created each of us to be. So it involves thinking differently and acting outside the box. To do the impossible, we'll need to do things that have never been attempted before and imagine things that have not been imagined before. Does that make sense? The new art movement, Totalityism, is a manifestation of this. Now, to illustrate how merging art and technology can bring about unity, friendship, and love, I offer the following story about a painting that I did as a simple example. Now, at times in my life, I've been a victim of hate and bigotry because of my religious beliefs. Unfortunately, when I was 19, 20 years old, as I was serving a full-time mission in Australia, I had things thrown at me. I was regularly yelled at. I was cursed, threatened, ridiculed because of my beliefs and what I was doing as a missionary. Unfortunately, some of the most hate-filled persecution came from those of other denominations who didn't like what I believe. Now that seemed so strange to me then, and it still does. Christians treating other Christians in such an un-Christ-like manner. Now, chapter 11 of my book, Totality X, the chapter is titled The Tolerance Principle. Now, the chapter features the painting of the Beatles on Abbey Road that you can see on my website. You can see it at paulsonartshow.com. As I was completing this large painting, I hesitated to add one minor detail. So I'm 99.9% done with the painting. I had just this minor detail to finish, but I hesitated. Why? It was the cigarette in Paul McCartney's fingers. Now, I didn't want to do anything and don't want to do anything to advocate smoking in any way. Yet, I decided to include the cigarette in McCartney's fingers when this thought came to me. Be tolerant of and love others. Everyone is different. So, the painting has come to represent being kind and loving and friendly despite our differences. It represents following Christ's command to love thy neighbor as thyself. Now, this is a shortened version of the story, an explanation. The entire chapter is dedicated to this principle in my book, but it is an example of totalityism. So what's next for TMin, Totality Ministries, Totalityism? I return to John Raymonds' impactful quote, "Sounds impossible. How can I help?" Now, I personally plan to help in the following ways. My planned doctoral project in my Doctor of Ministry program, it's based on this question. How is current and past interfaith collaboration to protect religious liberty impacting unity between denominations? I'm curious about that. I see something outside the box with that. Now, I intend to be active in efforts to help protect religious freedom to help create unity. Next, what else am I doing? I continue to write articles that are posted online, such as in medium.com, and this podcast episode is based on an article that I wrote there. What else am I doing? This podcast, Totalityism. I will continue to post here to help people become all God created them to be, to help you become all God created you to be. A YouTube channel to advance the new art movement of the 21st century, Totalityism, and everything that goes with it. What else am I doing? I'll continue to merge art and theology to advance the Totalityism art movement and use it as a catalyst for creating unity, friendship, and love between people of all races and faith groups. Now, what I've just shared is just the beginning. I know accomplishing the mission of TMin is going to take much, much more than what I've shared here. But this is where I've started. I repeat, to do the impossible, we'll need to do things that have not been done before. We'll need to imagine things that have not been imagined before. And this challenge and opportunity excites me to the very core. And of course, we need God's help every step of the way. Let me repeat. Jesus looked at them and said, "With man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible." Sounds impossible, right? How can I help? How would you like to help? So now you know what TMin is and how I intend for it to help change the world for good. The mission of TMin amounts to a Herculean task. I'm very aware of that. And it'll take the best efforts of dedicated people and God's help to bring the mission to fruition. Now, I feel up to the task. Would you be willing to join the movement? You can email me at timothypaulson1@gmail.com to let me know if you'd like to help in any way. Give me feedback on this episode or anything else that I'm sharing. You also, again, can go and see the painting that I've spoken of here, The Beatles on Abbey Road, and other pieces of art that are part of the Totalityism art movement at paulsonartshow.com. I am glad you joined me for this episode. Now we go onward and upward. Now you know what TMin is and how Totality Ministries and Totalityism, the new art movement of the 21st century, will help change the world.